What's the matter?
I can't breathe, man.
Well, here, hey, man. Hey, I got something to mellow you out, man. You're just freaking out. Here.
I never smoked no shit like that before.
Take these,
what?
man. Take these. This'll mellow you out, man.
What is that, man?
Just take them, man. Oh. Hey, don't take those, man.
What?
I almost gave you the wrong shit, man.
Hey, man, I already took them, man.
Oh.
Hey, what do you mean?
Wow, man.
Hey, what was that shit, man?
You just ate the most acid I've ever seen anybody eat in my life.
Hey, man, I never had no acid before, man.
Geez, I hope you're not busy for about a month.
Shit, I'm gonna die, man.
And fortunately, he did not die.
He did not.
And what was born from that, we all know, the legend.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the live stream of consciousness. It is a special day, a special time. We are really excited. We actually have Tommy waiting in the wings to be brought on. So we're going to do a really brief summation of our week. Mike, how was your week? Anything spiritual or exceptional happen to you?
Still amazing things happening at the studio, with the Jackie Martling show and all of the other live stream stuff that we're working with. I can just say I'm driving the boat and pointing the ship where I want it to go. So it's a great time right now. Nothing too specific other than what we've been talking about, but it's been a great week. I know you are setting yourself up for a good week.
I just came back from Knott's Berry Farm. I got my son Grayson there. Gray, you want to say hi?
Hello. What's up, Grayson?
He's off playing some video games, but he's here with me for a week and a half, and we're having a great time. We got a lot of plans, so life is good, man. I don't want to keep our guest waiting too long, and I really want to.
Me neither. I've been
from
waiting
him as humanly possible. So, without further ado, the legendary comedy icon and spiritualist. If you've seen him speak more recently, I'm constantly blown away by some of the nuggets of wisdom he keeps dropping. Tommy Chong, everybody.
Hey. Yeah. Welcome to the show, Tommy.
What's up? How's it going?
It's
going great, sir.
So is Putin attacking yet? I got a bet on it.
Oh yeah. You got a bet in with bookie.com over at Minddog show, right?
No, I got a bet with my wife. I told her he's not going to start a war. He just wants to get the oil prices back up.
Yeah. Oh, and he's doing a good job of that.
He is, and that's the whole exercise, because the whole world's economy depends on oil.
Well, that's why they call it the theater of war, right?
That's right. And when you think about it, it's oil has caused every war that we've been in, practically, oil or the revenge factor, but anyway, I got a bet, and I hope I win, and she hopes she loses.
I think you're going to win, and especially when the energy works like that, right?
Yeah.
She just wants you to win. So I'll let Michael lead you off with what is always our first question to everybody. We've never gotten the same answer twice, but Michael.
Well, this is the live stream of consciousness, and we just love engaging in conversations about spirituality and consciousness without going too deep, because, a lot of people out there struggle with some of the basics, and I know you don't, because, living a happy life is what it's all about, right? So the first question that we ask all our guests is, what is the meaning of consciousness? What does consciousness mean to you?
Consciousness,
yes.
It's eternal energy.
That's it, right? That's it. That's all you have to say.
And yet another completely different answer than we've ever gotten. Totally. That's incredible to think. And obviously I've thought about that myself on that level of, it's just infinite perspective. It's infinite. It's essentially what's charging everything. Because if there's nothing to observe, then it's all useless and meaningless. You know, it's all actually about this giant one mind that is affecting itself and touching itself and listening and observing and looking at, you know, all the different things it can be.
Well, always got to remember that anything boils down to just one. And so a lot is just a lot of ones. Big is just a lot of ones, but it's always just one. And one, because especially in the spiritual world, there's no want, need, or desire. And also in the physical world, for every action, there's a reaction. And for every up, there's a down. So it's like opposites. In other words, in order to have electricity, you have to have positive and negative. You can't have one without the other.
That's a great example.
And so when you think about a spirit, for instance, a spirit to me is the size of a thought.
I love the way you put that. It's the size of a thought. That's awesome.
That's funny. I've never said it that way, but I always try to explain to people, you know, about, you know, elementals, you know, which is what so much of the Native Americans, you know, they're speaking about the spirit of the birds or whatever, and that it's all just the energy that governs the concept. You know, there's an idea about birds and they got two wings and they got claws and they got a beak, and there's a governing energy that essentially covers the whole framework of all the birds, because they're essentially the same on a very fundamental level. And there is a governing concept or energy for everything, for even for anger, for happiness, for a lie, for the truth. You know, each thing has its own sort of whispering energy. And that, you know, that's a really wonderful way to put it.
And everything has an opposite. And what I just figured out, you know, which the sages have known forever, what is the opposite of everything?
Oblivion?
Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
Everything. That's what our physical plane of existence is. Everything, because you look out and you can't see anything but everything. You can see everything, and it goes forever. There's no. And what kills me is that the scientists say the universe is expanding. Well, if it's infinite.
Totally. Expanding kind of like suggests something else.
Okay, but then you think, oh, the opposite. So the whole spirit world is like what's that saying about angels dancing on the head of a pin? You know, so if everything can be infinite, nothing can be infinite.
Yeah.
Right.
And it gives more nothing and nothing. And you know what I also discovered?
What's that?
At the beginning of universes. We see it all the time. You know what that's called?
What is it?
The black hole.
Oh, yeah.
The black hole is the beginning of a new universe.
I think the thing that people miss in relation to what you're saying, in that expansion, you know, we talk about the universe is expanding. It's also imploding infinitely within. You know, so you've got this outside, which is easy for people to sort of imagine that things are spreading and expanding, but there's also this lower perspective. Like if you look at like when the Mandelbrot sets, where you just keeps getting smaller and smaller into the mathematics, and it just goes on forever. And your perspective can just keep shrinking along with the perspective forever. And, you know, so it's more than just it's expanding, which sounds very 3D. It's just infinitely rising, and it came from an infinite place to begin with.
That's right. And we humans, our job is to observe. I mean, what's the sense in having a play if there's no audience?
Exactly.
So we are the audience, and not just we as humans, but we as every living creature, plant, thing on this earth anyway, for sure, because we're all united, and that's what I also discovered too, is that karma, you know, which is sort of like the great equalizer.
Mhm.
You know, like you see people committing horrible crimes, and it looks like they're getting away with it, but no, they're not getting away with it. They're just racking up more points of where they're going to be next.
Right.
You
Right.
know, if,
Right.
if now do they have, is their job to create more chaos? They could come back as a bigger, worse enemy of the so-called civilized world, or we don't know. But the other thing too, I've been also studying the Bible a lot, and studying it in such a way is that what are they really saying?
Yeah.
You know, because the Bible was written so long ago that what they had envisioned, you know, they compare it to. And what I told Jordan Belfort, The Wolf of Wall Street, when I helped him write his book, the only help I gave him, I gave him honest criticism. That was the only help I gave. I said, he showed me what he wrote, and I said, you haven't written shit, you know. And and he said, why? I said, well, all you did was copy the bonfires of the vanities. And then he said, well, what should I write? I said, well, write those stories you've been telling me every night. And he had so many stories. And when the movie came out, I was kind of disappointed because he never had the real good stories in there. So there's another sequel or whatever to come out.
That had to be really interesting for people who are listening to the show and don't know. Tommy's, I guess you would call him your cellmate, right?
Yeah.
Was the Wolf of Wall Street. So
Yeah.
these guys spent a lot of time together, and I heard your stories on Macho, and it's amazing, you know, to hear like the exchanges and just how you guys existed together and became friends and
friends. And yet he is a criminal in every sense of the word. You know, he steals from the poor and keeps it, you know, unlike Robin Hood. And but he is a genius. There's no doubt about it. And he's making money right now, and he's doing fine. He just got married again. He's a very gorgeous lady. But what I'm learning, because I'm reading all the different the Chinese texts, you know, I forget his name, but you know, like the I Ching. All sorts of because the Chinese, you know, the pot and the knowledge of God and everything's been around for at least 26,000 years. That's the year that the Bhagavad Gita was written.
okay, right.
And so
that
India
stuff is mind blowing once you start looking at that. The Bhagavad Gita. Oh my God!
And then the Buddhism, you know, Buddhism was another Indian prince that said, "Oh, I got it." Yeah. Well, so humanity's been struggling with what we're struggling with now forever. And the only difference is now we're making gains. We're getting what when I was younger they called the future. And the future is now. You know?
Right.
Yeah. And it kills me when people talk about looking for things to get better. Look around, dude. You know? This is it for you right now. But so what I'm finding out is that the holy books, they did what they took the advice that I gave Jordan Belfort, which was don't just write about something, make it the biggest and the best, you know, because you're writing, you can use your imagination, you can be more stoned than anybody has ever been in the world, and no one's going to dispute that, you know. And that's what writers did. I think that's what they did with the Bible, for sure, in the Christian Bible.
People have a hard time with that sometimes, to claim that something is the most, you know, like as a songwriter, when that was one of the first thing I learned, especially when I connected with psychedelic plants. I realized that I was pulling the punches because I felt like bad to take up too much of the room and to suggest that my pain was the worst pain, you know, but why not? Of course it was the worst pain for you at that time, you know, like you always should, and any artist who wants to make anything worthwhile, you got to go all the way with it.
The most stuff, go the limit. You know, that's what everybody says. You know, how could they do that? Well, they did it. They did it. You know, the skaters, when they're doing the quads, you know, when they're doing, pretty soon it'll be what's the thing for fives? The fifths.
Right. They're always
circulations.
adding another 80 degrees onto the flip, so it's another half a flip. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
There's an
Exactly.
amazing book about how the flow state has led to this huge increase in every extreme sport from like the 50s to what like was going on and what the records were, and the records that have been broken because they just keep building. They keep trying to more flips, more spins, everything.
And it's their time. It's their time, you know, and everybody has a time, and you grow, and then and the other thing, you know, what I've learned over just being old and checking out is that we're only who we are for a short period of time. Then we change. We become somebody else, and then we become somebody else, and then we become someone else. Now, if you're like me, I kind of retarded my youth probably with the pot smoking, but what it did I started when I was 17, and what it did was just sort of my mind went boom. I got a tunnel vision on what I wanted to do with my life, and it wasn't pleasing anybody else except doing things that I love doing. And what I love doing is learning. I love learning. I didn't want to become an expert on guitar. I just wanted to learn enough to be able to play with friends.
Totally.
Which I did.
Yep.
Which I did. And then singing, I just wanted to learn enough so I could sing background.
Right.
You know, because I never really wanted to be a singer because number one, I never really had the raw talent. Number two, I don't like that world. You know, it's like being a star MMA fighter, you know.
Right.
You know?
No, I totally relate to what you're saying because I'm the same way. Like I wanted to learn how to play guitar, but I didn't need to be a guitar player. You know what I mean? I didn't need to be Eddie Van Halen. I just wanted to be able to play with the band and be, you know, join into that dance that they were doing and
understand
it was great.
what was going on
Right.
when you saw that happening. I understand. Like for me, it's all about like I want to understand. I don't like hearing people talking and not understanding what they mean. I'm somebody who's very big on if you don't understand the word or you don't understand what they mean, ask them. You know, what does that mean?
Or write it down and then find out later.
Yeah,
you know?
find out later. Yeah.
Or do what I did. I finally learned how to ask Siri. I mean, you take, you know, I've been introduced as icon and he's done this, written books, he's done everything. But they should add, and he still doesn't know how to use his phone. because my wife, you know, we're the same way. We went looking for a party the other night, and a tip. I've been given cameos, you know, and people want to know how can I improve my life? How can I be happier? And so I come up with some really good gems, you know. But you have to start practicing what you preach, you know. And the gem I came up with is lose your anger.
Great one.
Lose your anger. And it doesn't matter what you're angry at. Just lose it. And when you lose your anger, if you got to replace it with anything, replace it with humor, you know, because
taking yourself too serious can be really
amazing advice from Tommy Chong.
At the end of the day, but if you lose your anger, what happens is that you regain your balance. You keep your balance. See, anger throws you off balance. You know, it creates so many things in your body that you understand why people are so susceptible to diseases, because every time you get angry, you stop your body from working properly, like as far as your immune system goes. You know, you like stress is another form of anger.
Huge,
as far as I'm concerned. And so you lose your anger. So I'm driving with my wife. Now I told her when we got in the car, I said, why don't we take a Lyft or Uber? And she goes, no, I'll drive. And I said, oh, okay, fine. You know, because I love being driven. You know, I'm at that age, you know, I don't need to drive. I love to look and enjoy and relax. And so we're relaxed. And she said to me, did I put the right address in? Well, see, wives always ask trick questions like that. Did I leave something out? I don't know. That's your job. But I don't want to be angry about it. So I says, I don't know, hon. What is the address? So she says, well, it's in Beverly Hills, but we're not going to Beverly Hills right now. And so I said, well, okay, let's just see where we go. I got bad eyes, I got bad ears. I can't tell you, but I never said it. I just thought it, And so it's supposed to be a big Beverly Hills party, and we end up on La Cienega and in Wilshire, if you know that area. There's no Beverly Hills, nothing around that area.
No.
And she's, well, it's in the maps are telling you, oh, your destination's on the left in 500 yards, and there's nothing there. So finally, she did what everybody does when in doubt: phone and ask. Of course, we were not far away. We were 8 minutes away from Beverly Hills.
Right.
But I was so happy with myself because I never got frustrated. I never got angry. I held my cool, and she started apologizing. She's very. I'm usually the guy that does everything wrong, so it was hard for her to apologize and admit that she did wrong, but she did. Yeah. And I said, well, listen, I got to tell you, I loved the company, and I enjoyed the trip. Wherever we did. So we ended up at the Beverly Hills party, and it was another eye opener because I'm famous, and it's not just famous. What makes me unique is I'm famous with kids, with teenagers, and when you're famous with teenagers, I'm telling you that is more powerful than anything. Why? Because when the rich people that I have to go to parties with come home and mention to their kids, oh, yeah, Tommy Chong was there, the kids will talk to them for the first time.
That's so great. And Tommy, I got to say, what you're talking about, I mean, your energy and your being, I mean, is incredible. I mean, how old are you? I just saw a thing on your CBD. You're 85 years old? 86?
No, thank you. No, I'm 83. I'll be
83.
84. I'll be 84 in May
Okay.
24th.
And that it's funny because now that I was having you on the show and I typed your name in once or twice, I'm getting all of your CBD ads are coming into my feed.
Sure. Yeah.
But I was so happy
The
to
CIA
see
is hearing what you're saying, Michael.
Yeah. But it's amazing, and I do want to also kind of talk a little bit about that part of your story.
Sure.
Plant medicine is used in so many ways, and we talk about it in a spiritual nature here on the show, but also in a holistic way. It's used, for healing. And you got into CBD, a CBD business specifically because it was working for you, and you were seeing the benefits firsthand. I mean, you want to talk about that a little bit? Tell us.
Yeah, well, what happens with the cannabis plant, it goes right to the brain. We have the receptors, and all it does is what I did in the movie, mellow, mellow. That's all CBD and cannabis. THC does. It just mellows. Now, THC will put you on a trip. Make you hear music that you never heard before. CBD just eliminates what do you call it? Inflammation. Thank you.
Right.
And the reason now, figure out what inflammation is. Inflammation is your body's panic reaction to something that needs to be fixed or healed or get rid of. So it sends blood to that area because that's the body's defense mechanism. Is all the healing is all in the blood. It's all in the blood. The message, everything's all in the blood. That's why if you lose blood to the brain, you're dead. Or because it's a message system. And so when you do CBDs under the right circumstances, you will calm the brain down and then allow the body's functions to work. Because the brain's got alarm systems, all crazy, and that's why a lot of people they override the alarm. They shut off the alarm system. You know,
Oh yeah,
people
cover up
with
the symptoms.
well, with the danger, you know, people in dangerous sports, you know,
Mhm.
when they get that rush of adrenaline, instead of backing off, they use that as energy. They
Right.
use that as, and that's overriding the body's natural function, you know, because the body's function is to keep you alive. Because if you're not alive, then everything dies, you know, and then no one has a job. And so the body works very hard. And by the way, when you look up in the sky and you see these galaxies and you see all that, each of us are a separate galaxy.
Oh yeah,
We are.
absolutely.
And there's ends of our universes that don't know what the other end's doing, you know. They've never
Yeah, no,
really
I've been getting that
get to
too.
know.
Every molecule in our body is
Yes.
essentially its own galaxy because it's surrounded by this infinite space. You know,
Yes.
this tapestry of nothing that is literally in between, you know, every molecule of my fingernail. And it's just so crazy to think that, like, if I just keep going down, you know, it's just going to become this spread out mass, you know, because none of the molecules are actually touching. There's just space in between everything. It's crazy. You know, we're more empty space than we are, you know, taking up room.
Yeah, when you think about it.
Yeah.
But most people, we don't think about it.
Right.
See, we just go through our time. So getting, so the CBD, more than anything, less is more. That you know, I found out even when I started smoking weed, I never smoked a whole joint for probably ever. I don't think I've never smoked really sat and smoked a whole joint ever.
Right.
Because I'll take a couple of tokes, put it out.
That's all you need. Yeah.
Tokes, hand it off. Because that's all I need. And like now I've got more weed than God practically. And I still the same habits, you know, a little bit. And it's not to save anything. It's more this is my body. I'm listening to my body. My body.
No, you're absolutely right. I've learned the same thing.
Yep.
Yeah, you're on the money. I quit smoking. Like I used to smoke a lot because I had anxiety. And I got to a point where it was just constant. And I went cold turkey for a while. And my big motivation was that when I would take a little bit of time away from it, I would smoke and I would meditate. I would get so high. I would be so inspired and have just clarity like you wouldn't believe. And, you know, after like 4 or 5 months or something like that, I went back to smoking once or twice a week, just a little bit. And, you know, I use a tiny little one hitter and that's it.
That's all you need.
I meditate. It's amazing. It's great. And it's like the closest to God I've ever been, like just constantly, like I'm always clear-minded. And then I connect to the heavens and come back, you know, to earth by the morning and I'm off to the races.
The other day I did a talk at first cannabis rehab center.
Cannabis rehab.
Okay. Oh wow.
Yeah. It's a guy that owns a bunch of Dr. Green Thumb dispensaries in Los Angeles, and I guess because he had friends or somebody in rehab, he thought, "Wow, why don't we do a cannabis rehab?"
Oh, lost you for a second.
We lost you for a second.
Clock went off. Okay. Now what do I do?
All right. There should be there's like 2 buttons on the left side. One of them's mute, which I don't. Okay, we lost him for a second.
Oh, he's coming back. Oh, so
is he already back on the other side?
No, he'll be back.
Oh, well, when he's back in a second, I'll say a couple things about what he said. He was talking about you know, the ebb and flow. You know, everything, it goes left and it goes right, and karma. You know, like you could think of karma, you know, as like a scientific sort of process, the way you think of sleep, right?
Right.
You stay up and you work and you slave away and you're extra tired because you did so much work, and then you go to sleep, and when you're well rested, you get up and you go back to doing things again. You know, that balance of that system, it's as simple as that is. I was just talking about what you were talking about karma, and I was comparing it to sleep as being, you know, going to sleep, you wake up, you get really tired, you got to go back to sleep again. You do some things, you got to go back to sleep again. Everything's ebbing and flowing the same way the sun and the moon are doing a little dance. But you know, hey, Tommy, because we're already kind of like halfway through our show, and I really want to get to this in particular, because I think a lot of people think of you in a certain way from your films, the history of being somebody who is recreationally using plant medicine in maybe not the most responsible fashion. But as I've seen, you in more recent times and interviews and whatnot, it was so clear to me that somewhere along the way, that relationship with the plants grew to a much more spiritual place, or at least there was one that was always there that I didn't necessarily see. So, when we have people come on the show, we're always kind of trying to get the story of how they went from living unconsciously and not really acknowledging that oneness that you were talking about to waking up and going, oh, wow, yesterday I was living a way that is not really in alignment with this universe. And we want to know, how you came to that conclusion and what changed in you, and, how you changed how you were living your life after you woke up to that conscious thing. And the answer could be, I knew that since I was an infant, but whatever the answer is, we'd love to know. What is your story? Take your time in telling us, that.
My story comes to the beginning of my upbringing. See, I was very lucky. I was born mixed, heritage, or what do you call it? Mixed race. And I just found out lately that the big secret in my family wasn't the fact that my mother married a full Chinese guy. It was because her mother was half native, and they hid that from the family forever.
Oh, wow.
And we just found out, we went on the DNA thing and found out that my grandmother, who died before I was born, she was 50% native. And she was married. She was a Dillon. I guess she was a product of a mixed marriage herself. And but she died, she committed suicide. And so my mother married my dad, is Chinese, and then he went off to war right away. He didn't have to, but he did. And we followed him around. I guess, I was a baby. And then my mother got TB, and she ended up in the sanitarium. You talk about quarantined. We never saw her for 5 years.
Wow.
We saw her from the ground. We could wave to her. And then I got pleurisy. And then when we all got out of the hospital, we ended up in a little, like a reservation house. There's no outdoor. It was outdoor plumbing and gardens, and we're native. We were living like natives. And my dad, being Chinese, he ended up being a truck driver. Ended up being a distant truck driver, and so I remember I was just talking to friends of mine, and I remember I ended up joining Army Cadets because that was a poor man's vacation, You join Army Cadets at 13, and then you get to learn how to shoot a gun and drive a truck and drink beer and smoke cigarettes, and you get a whole history, a whole education of that. But before I went into Army Cadets, we had where my brother and I were walking in the country road like barefoot because we never wore shoes because we couldn't afford to have shoes when you didn't need shoes. You only wore shoes when you needed to go to church or, right, go visit someone. And we had no one to visit. So I grew up, I went to Bible camp, and that's what formed my whole being, because the first thing you learn in Bible camp is how to pray. And it took a while, they kept going over, the importance of prayer, and how you're connected so close that all you have to do, this is what I found out later, all you have to do is think, have your mind on God. That's all. And I learned that real early. And so that was my trick. No matter what happened to me, I would always go to God for guidance. And as a result, I skated through, what could have been a longer term in jail. I right on the edge, and and that's how I played. I learned how to play music. I learned how to entertain. I took a band. We took it all the way to Motown. I learned how to write songs. I'm a poet more than a songwriter, and my whole being has always been guided by God, but not necessarily God in person, as we all know. He's so busy that he has angels taking care of us, and I've got my angel is incredible, because look where I've come from, and look where I am, and look where I'm still going.
Yeah.
And it's not. And I keep getting these little messages. I got a message the other day. I've been getting this message, but it's been coming in sort of like increments. I get a little bit here and a little bit there, but we're leading toward. I have a solution for the homeless problem.
Oh,
if you can believe that.
I can.
And the solution is quite radical, but so simple that when it's going to be put into effect, and I hesitate to say it now because, I want to have all my ducks in order, so it won't disappear as a rumor or just a crazy pothead thought, But basically what it is, and I learned this from the Trump riots. I looked at those riots, and I look at everything differently now. I because I've been on both sides. I understand both sides, I understand the criminal mind really well, and that's why I knew Trump was going to be a fun ride. Because I recognized his ass right away, and I was kind of hoping he'd win, and he did win, and I'm glad that Hillary never won because she would have been tortured to death, But anyway, so I've come up with there are solutions to everything, and it's done with what you have. It's almost like cooking or eating things, like the Pilgrims, when they first came to America, they almost starved to death because there was no grocery stores sort of thing, right. And so the natives, which created Thanksgiving, said, here, look, you can eat that, you can eat that. Well, see that thing fine? Yeah, you can eat that. You can, and they're delicious if you know how to cook it, you see? And so the solutions for our life is all around us. It's there. It's in the open. It's not hiding anywhere. And I've got, see, the problem with the homeless is it's karma. We have the same poor all over the world, and we always have, and we always will. There'll never be a time when there won't be people homeless and struggling, because that's the nature of our world. You don't struggle long; you struggle for a lifetime, and then you move on. And some learn, and some don't. And some repeat, and some don't. But what I learned, and I got to be very. It's so simple and so exciting, but it'll work. And all I'm doing is what Jesus did when he healed people. All he did was say, "Get up and walk." Right.
The power's in you.
The power's in you. Get up and walk. Or to the lady, go and sin no more. That's all. Because instantly, see, I hate to criticize. I'll do a little bit, because criticism helps no one and nobody.
Right.
But I like to clarify a couple of things. Number one, baptism. You know, the Christians, first of all, the Romans did. Romans' religion wasn't working for them. You know, Christianity took over. No matter. In fact, when they executed the leader, he wasn't even the leader. He was just a Jew that got caught up being ratted out that he was the leader. But the Christians wanted to, or the Romans wanted to co-opt this guy. You know, okay, we'll make him our God. Okay, and so we'll get a bishop, and we'll get all these pope, and we'll get all these, and we'll get the robes, and we'll get the crowns, and we'll get all the trappings. You know, because that's very impressive. You know, for the masses and everything else. But the word of God, and that's what Jesus always said. It's not me, dude. It's God. You know, God's doing this. It's not me. I'm just telling you ways to do it. And really what Jesus and the holy people do, they give us rules. You see, the universe is operates on rules. Mm-hmm. There's rules that have to be followed, and if you don't follow them, then you're going to go into another category. You're not going to disappear, but then you're going to, you know, it's going to, and if you understand the rules and you work within them with a good heart, mm-hmm. because it's so simple. Life is so simple. Right. And it's people that are trying to make a buck off it that make it difficult, or even sound difficult. Oh, yeah. And even myself, when I was given the message to go, I was also playing with another thing, because I you know, I'm getting so popular. I'm thinking, you know, hey, you know, instead of Scientology, how about Chongology? You know, and then I realized, no, don't do that. You know, every book in the world says, don't false idols, man. You know,
right. You know, if I may add something to that, Tommy, because you were talking before about the Bible and looking at the Bible. You know, I write comic books. I'm working on a book that's based off of a tabletop game called The Others, which is all about the 7 sins and the horsemen of the apocalypse. So I've been reading very deep into Revelation. And, you know, when you look at the book of Revelation, it sounds like some sort of horror story. We got this guy on this horse and this guy on that other horse, and they're all bringing terrible things with them, and they're going to destroy the planet. Well, in doing what you were doing, trying to get to the bottom of, well, what does this really mean? One bit that was the hardest one for me to figure out what the hell it meant was famine, because famine's got this, he's got the what do you call it? The scales, right? And it says in the Bible something to the effect of that the wheat is going to cost more money and the barley is going to cost more money. So people always read that and they assume what this is inflation. But when you really get down to what it actually says there, it said something that completely redefined the whole thing for me and made me understand finally what the book of Revelations is actually about. The book of Revelations is a warning about the liars. The first horseman of the apocalypse is a false prophet. He is somebody who is going to take the things that Jesus Christ said, blessed are the meek and turn the other cheek, and he's going to use them improperly. And because of this self-righteousness that he has, he's going to impose his will upon you with what? War. Once war has happened, you will be subjugated. And how do they subjugate you? They subjugate you with taxes. Famine is not about inflation. Famine is about the taxes on your daily life. That you're going to have some of that barley taken from you every day. That is a different scenario. So you're dealing with false prophet, war, taxes, and then plague, which is weakness. There is no sickness when people realize that the kingdom of heaven is within them, when they're living balanced, reasonable lives. You feel sick because they're subjugating you and taking something from you every day. And they're changing your perspective on existence. And you're starting to think that either you're some sort of lesser, something where you're not having enough sex, lust, you're not having enough to eat, gluttony, you don't have as much as the other people have, envy. Literally all of the sins are derived from a notion of lack that comes from the pride and the wrath of these people deciding that their way is right. And that's not what Christ was ever trying to tell us. And even Christ himself has become a false prophet through all of the things that have been done in his name. Christ would never have fought any of these wars. And then at the end of the day, in the Revelations as well, you essentially get it called out that the meek are going to get killed during this time because they are balanced and in the middle. And these people who are polarized as too, prideful or too envious, they're going to fight over the scraps of the world. And the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are literally just a warning of how human beings will be when they're, off kilter.
If they go down that path.
Yeah.
If they go down that path, you see, all that can disappear. Go and sin no more.
That's right.
It disappears. Go and sin no more. Because it's a sin that keeps people down. And really, and sin really is ignorance.
Yeah.
If you really knew what was going on, you wouldn't be playing in that. And that's why a lot of people, that's another reason too, that, I love these shows because I don't talk like this unless I'm on the show that I have friends, that other than that, man, I save my breath because people have to learn these things themselves.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what I found. But what I found out, how simple life is. And when I did that talk at that rehab, the pot rehab place, I told them all, and I've been telling a lot of people this, and it's funny because when I talk like this, it pisses my family off. My wife gets mad, and Paris gets mad, my son. And what it is, they're not ready. See, if people aren't ready to be told something, what I liken, what do you call it, when you're preaching, when you're telling someone the word of God and they don't want to, they're not ready for it.
Yeah.
It's like giving someone directions to Disneyland that never has no intentions of going. You know what I mean?
I know.
Well, that's what I'm doing. And so I love talking to people like you guys, because you're interested in it.
Right.
And the thing is, when it gets down to how simple it is, that's why yogas and wise men, they all got one thing in common. You know what we all have in common? That cosmic giggle.
I love that, the cosmic giggle. That's great.
The cosmic giggle, where someone tells you something, and you kind of chuckle. Yeah. Okay.
I would always say it was so stupid. And somebody chastised me one day. They were like, don't be negative. It's not stupid. And I said, no, I don't mean it's like stupid. I mean, it's so stupid that I couldn't see the merit and the clarity in that, and to me, that's that cosmic get where you're just like, what a fucking idiot.
That's what I'm saying.
I have been for my entire life. It's so simple.
Well, I've been asked, how's this pandemic, and same as when they ask about jail. Do you realize what a blessing it was for me to go to jail? It was a pure blessing. It was like a gift from God.
Right.
Why? Because I got taken away from all worldly problems. And all I had to do is think.
Yeah. You got to spend a lot of time with yourself.
I didn't have to worry about food or exercise or
that's great.
Or
can you
enjoying
tell us
anything.
What your biggest spiritual takeaway was from we talked about you changing every few years, you're just literally a different person,
7 years.
Who's the guy who went into jail and who's the guy who came out of jail? Can you give us any insight?
Well, I went into jail knowing I was kind of happy. I was sad for my family. You get sad for them because they're the ones that have to go through the embarrassment with some people, you know. My one daughter, when I had a going away dinner, she walked out on it. She just couldn't take it, you know, because it was just too hard on her. And so I felt sorry for my family. But when I got there, spiritual things happened to me, you know, because it was ordained that I be there because I had to meet certain people, and I had to, first of all, I had to, you know, make clear my mind, you know, because I had one foot on the spiritual world and another foot on the you know, the regular world, and I was kind of being off balance because of that. You know, because I made some decisions with my career. For instance, we got offered a Disney, the Lion King, and Cheech and I weren't talking at that time. We had broken up, and so I turned that down because my life isn't about money at all. It never has been, and yet, because again, the scripture said, you know, trust in God, and He will provide. And that's so I've never worried about money ever. You know, how much I got, how much I don't even know how much I got. I went on Siri, and then she said I'm worth about $8 million, something like that. It was a big surprise to me,
Right.
because I had no. And so when I went in there, I was wide open, and then these beautiful. Well, people say, you know, how was it? How bad was it? I had one bad half hour. And what it was, I was great. When I first went in there, I had a fan drive me from the main gate over to the camp. And first thing he did is pull out a Cheech and Chong record. Will you sign this for me? and when I got there, there was like a greeting party of prisoners that knew my work. And then I spent the rest of the day taking pictures with the inmates. And then I had to get in bed for my first night in prison. And I'm in a dormitory with 200 other inmates, and we got little cubicles, but they're only 6 feet tall. And so I could hear the door being locked at 9:00. And I got a little claustrophobic then because I'm in this little cot, little bed. You know, I came from a king size bed in the Palisades, silk sheets, and now I'm in this little cot. And I got a prisoner right above me on the bunk up top, a cement wall right next to me. And I heard that door lock, and I started panicking, you know, got a little claustrophobic. And then all of a sudden I felt this warmth come over me. And it was like a warm blast of air. It just went over my whole body. And then it was like, go to sleep. and that was it. And then I recognized the angel had come and calmed me. And after that, I woke up to the sound of, you know, they're announcing, they're looking for their kitchen help. 5 in the morning. Rodriguez, report to the kitchen immediately. it was. I woke up, and from that moment on, it was a learning. I was on a learning thing, a learning safari. Right. And I ended up asking this old convict to show me how to do time. You know, we bonded right away. I mean, there's so many stories. I was taking tango before I went in, and so during the day I found a little place where I could practice my tango. And I don't give a shit about audiences or anything. You know, I'll do whatever I have to do. And I was practicing my tango, and all the bikers, you know, they came around. About the second day, they came around, and they're all started laughing and heckling me, you know. And one guy goes, "Hey, Chong, you don't have to dance alone. I'll dance with you." And so I went over and I took him in my arms, and he got all homophobic. Oh, Jesus. Anyway, he became my best friend, my dog.
That's
and he had been in prison all his life. And so I told him, I said, teach me how to do time, you know. because there is an art
Yeah.
doing time. And he says it's all in the games. You play games. And he said, for instance, come on. He said, I'll show you. Let's play some pool. And so we went over and played pool. Well, he, you know, I love these guys. You know, they don't know who they're dealing with. You know, and I grew up in Canada, and a lot of my childhood was spent in a pool hall. You know, with the real hustlers in a Canadian-sized pool, which is bigger and harder to play. And so we played, and I beat him the first game. And he said, "Okay, well, rack him up. Let's go again." I said, "Nope." He goes, "What?" I said, "Nope. We're not going to play." He said, "Why, man? Come on, you can't do this to me." I says, I got a perfect record with you, man." he got so mad because we had bet 20 push-ups on demand. That's how you bet.
Yeah.
And so when he started going crazy, I said, "Give me one." He said, "Let me do them all." I said, "No, just give me one." So he had to jump down and do his push-up. So that was the kind of games. And then I got into the Indian Sweat Lodge. I met every spiritual person in prison. And by the way, there's quite a few, tons of them, you know, because that's how you survive. You know, that's how you survive in life.
Yeah. So when you came out, you said 7 years. You were in for 7 whole years.
No, I was in there for 9 months.
Oh, okay. So
what happens? Right. I'm saying the body changes every 7 years.
Right.
You know that 7-year itch. You know, that's for real. That's for real.
Oh yeah, no, I've definitely seen. You know, there's a whole bunch of different sort of patterning that they talk about in lots of different things, whether it's astrology or otherwise. Of like you see a new cycle starts for yourself or whatever. So when you got out, you know, after your stint, what would you say was your biggest takeaway overall from the whole experience, if you could boil it down to one or 2 things?
I was, first of all, I was totally into the spiritual world, you know, and keeping it to myself, more or less, or sharing it with people that want to hear about it, you know, because I learned we all have a God app, you know. And I mean, if anything was patterned after anybody, the phone is patterned after ourselves, you know. There's a God app, and like I said, all you have to do is to change your thought, and this is what I learned, you know. It's your thoughts that imprison you or free you. You know, your thoughts. With your thoughts, you can go anywhere in the world. You can go to furthest in space. You know, that's why science fiction writers, you know, they have such great talent. Like Ron Hubbard, he kind of got lost in there, but so you always got to stay anchored. But once you control your thoughts, and then to be happy, just make sure you have happy thoughts, and you can create happy thoughts out of anywhere, anything, anywhere. And the great thing, and this is what I found out, being a comedian, we deal in truth. We deal in truth, and whether we follow it or, you know, make fun of it, however you do it, everything a comedian says that makes you laugh, honestly, is true in one form or another. It's truth, and so that's what I came out of.
But you're presenting it in a way to be like, hey man, don't take it so seriously. It's folly.
It's timing. It's timing. It's when to say it. Yeah. Like I did a little eulogy for my my one-time landlord, and then he became a really, really good friend. Frank Bartolotti, Italian guy that died. He got pretty serious cancer, and then he passed away. And they had a service for him, and they wanted me to speak, and there was sadness everywhere. And I got up there and I recounted the funniest thing Frank and I ever did, or Frank did, which was he found all these marijuana seeds that these hippies that were working for me, working on my house, they left a big bag of seeds. And Frank's a natural gardener, so he found a little area in the back, and he planted 40 plants of the best marijuana you've ever seen, and they grew to 15 feet high. This is in Bel Air. and this is during the turn of, end of the 70s.
Wow.
It was highly illegal. In fact, there was a kid that was stealing the plants, and Frank told me about it. And Frank, one night, he sat up there all night with a gun on his lap and waiting for the kid. And the kid came in with a baggie, and he took a garbage bag full of weed. And he started running, and Frank told him, he said, "You could drop that bag, I'm gonna shoot you in the ass."
Oh shit!
And when you're told where you're going to get shot, he dropped that bag, and then he ran to his house. And so the next day, I went over and knocked on the door, and the father came to the door. Well, first of all, the rock music stopped immediately when I knocked, and then it was almost like a movie cue. And the father came to the door, and and he said, "Yeah." I said, "Listen, your son's been sneaking in my yard and stealing plants, and just tell him stop. I don't want anybody to get hurt." And he goes, "What kind of plants? You got a belligerent." I said, "Marijuana plants." He says, "Isn't that illegal?" I said, "Yeah. So tell your kid, don't come in my yard anymore." And the father goes, "I'll tell him." That was the end of that. Well, I told that story. I had the church rocking. I had them laughing. And what it did, it sent Frank off in a beautiful way. Because, like I said, we're eternal beings, man. When we die, we just go. The lease is up.
Right. The lease is up.
We're there to get a new vehicle.
That's right.
If
Totally.
we're lucky.
Totally. Well, listen, before we wrap up, I know it's getting close to that time. I want to be respectful. I know my friend Matt, when you were on his show, he took the opportunity to light up a joint and kind of smoke a little bit with you.
Thank you.
I would love to do an honorary smoke with the legendary Tommy Chong if you are up for it. I've got mine right here.
I've got. Nice. Hey, look what I got. See these here?
Oh, look at those.
You know what these are?
Are those soaked in CBD?
No, what is that?
These are things to keep my fingers busy when I'm talking and doing things. I don't need to. I got all sorts of joints. I don't need to roll them. But
that's great.
I love the art of rolling. And then I love the art of looking for my lighter, which is right.
It's so much fun. It's a part of the process. Awesome, Tommy. I'm so honored.
Cheers to you both. I feel like I'm missing out right now.
You don't have any?
Not immediately available to me.
Shotgun, ready?
Wait, that's not true. Hold on a second.
Oh man. I just got a shotgun from Tommy Chong, a virtual shotgun. That is awesome. Tommy, you are so amazing to talk to. I have to tell you, your energy is so pure and real. And talking to you is exactly what I imagined it would be like hanging out with you and exchanging ideas. When you were on Matt's show and you started talking about consciousness and he said, "Hey, you'd be great for my show," I was just so excited. That's what we love talking about. We love talking about.
Yeah, no, Tommy, absolutely,
life,
man. This was a dream come true. And, really, as I said, I'm quite a bit younger. So, I didn't grow up, watching your movies until much later, and I didn't partake in cannabis or anything until I was much older. So it was later.
Was it a girl? Was it a girl that turned you on?
No, it was my brothers, who basically everybody who knew me well thought that I really needed to calm down. and my brother literally came to me one day and he just went, "You could really use some weed." And very
that's a nice
for
brother.
Me, yeah, well, and quickly for me it became a just a real
obsession.
Well, yeah, to some degree, in just realizing how strung out I had been and what a hard time I was having understanding myself.
Yeah.
And and basically marijuana gave me the opportunity to kind of look within and understand what I was doing and not be so freaked out about my results, because I was very results oriented and I was having such a hard time getting the result I wanted, And I wanted to say this, just to spread the love around, to our audience of what Tommy's saying about the going to that funeral and making everybody laugh. You don't have to be Tommy Chong to do that. You don't have to be Tommy Chong to go to the hospital, and instead of being so serious and being so freaked out about your friend's cancer or the thing that's going on with them, about making them laugh and helping them relax. And that there's a gift that you can offer to all of the grieving people, that everybody who's having a hard time at any time, and it is a smile and lightness and laughter. And really kudos to you, Tommy, for knowing that. I'm going to light this up in your honor. Lower the volume, please.
The sadness comes, and the sadness can be very, very beautiful, because it's you start remembering things that you should have said, you should have done, and the things that you loved so much about the person, and now they're gone. And what I found is a lot of sadness is you're sad for yourself. Sometimes you're embarrassed. Other times you're wishing they would die, and then they did, and then you think, oh, maybe I did it. Maybe my wish caused it. But when the good news is that we're eternal beings. We're not going anywhere.
I think that's the most important thing. Like, I was going to wrap it up and say that the big takeaway was the first thing you said, which was lose your anger. You know what I mean? And that's really, again, essentially a part of a bigger thing, which is just understanding that everything is an energy exchange.
Yeah.
And as long as you're aware of it, then you're in control of it. You're making those decisions. What's the energy that I'm going to put into this, knowing that's what you're going to get out of it.
The energy exchange.
Emmett Fox calls it the golden key. Mm-hmm. If you want anything to happen for you, then what you do, just mentally, you bless the situation, you bless the person you're talking to, just mentally. Mm-hmm. And you look them in the eye and you smile and you bless them, and you see whoever they are doing whatever they're doing in whatever manner they're doing it in. It doesn't matter, because you have the golden key, and that's the key to unlock. And once you unlock people's hearts, then miracles happen. Because I did it just not too long ago. We're in Denver, and our plane, what happened? Our plane was delayed. No, our plane wasn't there at the same time. We had to get back to LA, and I used the golden key. And then the girl looked up at me. She goes, "Oh, go to gate 18. They're waiting. They're waiting for you. It's good." Right. Boom. That golden key.
Golden
Boom.
key. Yeah.
What's the golden key? Repeat it so that everybody understands. It went by so fast. The golden key being
the way to open up doors doors that were before being shut in your face. Right. Use that golden key, and that boom, the universe responds. Right.
The golden key is energy exchange, Jesse. That's what he was saying, basically. But I gotta say,
you mean connecting it back to making people laugh, bringing lightness, bringing good energy.
Yeah. Right. Yep. Exchanging energy.
All of that.
Exactly.
All of that. And losing your anger. That is so good, because even myself, when someone cuts me off now, or no, I'm walking across the street yesterday, and I got room, but the guy that was coming down, he starts peeping his horn. It was like, get out of the way. And for an instant, I said, "Motherfucker," and then I said, "Oh, okay." I ran across. I left my anger somewhere else.
Totally. Yeah. And what I was trying to say was, I think it's great, because maybe you're saying, oh, like later in life I was spiritual, but even earlier in life, when you were doing the movies, and that opening scene was one of my favorite things forever. I can remember, that's the most acid I've ever seen anyone eat, that opening thing. But even before you saying I was spiritual, you were giving people that with your movies. We have a lot of people, and I just want to say hello to everybody who's watching. They usually pop up their comments.
Hello to all of our usuals. Thanks for being here, guys. We're all so loyal.
Yes, but Tim says he was a
Change
very
time.
early
They're
fan. We
still
had a lot
here.
of people thanking you for the laughs and the smiles and the memories, and so you know, you were always spiritual. You were always, you know, giving people that energy, you know, and even before you realized why,
Yeah,
probably, you know,
yeah,
which is great,
yeah.
beautiful.
I learned. Well, I am blessed. There's no one. I am so blessed, and I've been blessed all my life. I was blessed just being the second child. You know, my brother took a brunt of everything, being the oldest child, and my younger sister, well, she had her life, but I was in the middle, and everybody left me alone. And by leaving me alone, I got to be friends with everybody else.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, I definitely relate to you probably the most, especially like if you're looking at the Cheech and Chong, which guy do you relate to? I've always been, I don't do drama, I don't do stress, I'm just real mellow, you know, just like you say. And it really is, honestly, it's the key to happiness, you know,
Yeah.
just kind of understanding all of the simplest things. This has been so amazing. Jesse, I don't know if you have anything you want to
I
wrap
do.
this up.
I have one last question.
Awesome.
When you know, you were talking about that you were offered to be in the Lion King with
Oh, right.
Cheech. At the time, you guys weren't speaking. When and you know, what was the moment when you put away, you know, that anger and were able to move past that? You know, can you remember the
Oh,
moment
yeah.
where you? Yeah,
Yeah. My son, Cheech had run out of gigs, you know, and he was kind of making overtures, you know, to get back. I was happy. I had my wife as my partner. I had a stand-up career going like crazy, you know, and I really didn't need him. And but my son, Paris, he says, "Come on, Dad, well, just go talk to Cheech anyway, you know." So I went out and had a talk with Cheech, and I come back, and nothing had really changed, you know. We're both pretty hard headed, but I sent him an email. I said, you know, it was nice seeing you today, and you know, I hope we don't, you know, I hope we do this more often, you know. And my son intercepted my email because he actually controls my Twitter feed and everything, and so he 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 erased that one and he sent his own. And as my son would do, he says, "Hey, listen, I'm really looking forward to getting back together with you again, and we should start rehearsing." and,
Wow.
and next thing I know, my son said, "Oh, Dad, by the way, Cheech is coming over tomorrow to rehearse." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah." And then he told me what he did, and I laughed because it was what I wanted to do, but
Yeah.
ego and you know how that is, and that got in the way. But it's all good. It's really good. You know, it was good. It was ordained that we got together. It was also ordained that we split up 7 years.
Sure. Yeah.
We
Everything
did.
happens for a reason. Yeah.
We did a whole movie. We did a whole record career, a whole movie career. And it was time for him to go on his own and me to go on my own, and that's what happened.
Right. Right. Totally. I'm gonna just pop this up. I know I follow you on Instagram. I've seen you on Instagram with your beautiful wife, and you're always doing some funny stuff. I don't think it's the cannabis one that I've followed. You have another Instagram account that you do fun stuff or like personal stuff, or is that the one I see? Is that the one?
No, that's it right now. We
Okay.
got we were doing a lot of cannabis stuff. Then Facebook kicked us off.
Oh, okay.
We were doing too good.
Gotcha.
In
Yeah,
fact,
yeah,
they
of
were
course.
paying us. They were paying us because we got so many views.
Yeah, they don't like that.
But they got nervous and they kicked us off. And so then I kind of lost touch with it, except for with my wife.
Right.
And so I just that was my rule. You know, if I can have my wife there, you know,
Right.
then
God bless you.
it's
You
worth
guys
it.
are so funny. I love when you guys pop
Well,
up on my feed.
she's so beautiful, and she is funny. She
Yeah.
is funny, and and she's hurting me like a calf in a rodeo ring. she she knows all my moves, and she's there. She is such a trip.
That's
And
great.
she just loves doing the cameos. And I love it too, man.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's such a great way to connect. I mean, such a cool.
We got what 36 million viewers, some ridiculous number.
So great.
Because we were talking to Netflix. Was it Netflix or one of the Discovery Channel about a show, and they were going on and on about our how many people watch us and that.
Yeah.
I think what's going to happen next, like I said, I've got that plan to fix the cities.
Yeah.
Not just the homeless problem, but the cities all over. And
Wow.
I have to come on. I have to come on this show after.
You are welcome.
Yeah, you are always welcome
when it gets announced, because I learned I don't want to spill the beans too soon.
Okay.
It has to be done
Totally
on a nice market.
Well, here I'll give an alternate take on the homeless thing, because this is funny. My friend came up with a brilliant idea, and I was trying to get it produced as a TV show, but there's a lot of difficulties with production companies and working with homeless people. So like when I've tried to bring it to a lot of different companies, everybody kind of goes, we're not gonna be able to do it. But the idea essentially was that if you did homelessness as like a game show, where you set up a homeless person, and depending on who donates what, they get prizes, like when they round the corner. And essentially what you would do by doing that is you would trick the whole world into thinking that at any time there could be a hidden camera homeless show going on right now, and somebody's watching me be good. And and it would encourage people to be more generous. And I thought that's brilliant.
See how we think alike?
Oh, yeah.
You see?
Is there some similarities?
Now my plan, your plan will work incredibly in my plan.
Oh yeah,
it'll fit. It's a fit.
You go.
It's a fit
you
right there.
To cross paths
right there.
Yeah, just use it.
Man. Oh man,
gratis license.
I can't tell you, but I got to tell you, man.
Well, if you need somebody to produce some behind the scenes footage of you doing anything like what I just said, we'll get together and we'll make a show out of it.
Definitely. Yeah. In fact,
that's actually probably the way to do it.
See how ordained I am, or blessed I am.
Oh yeah.
See, because this is what I've been pondering, my scheme. Okay, and I've been doing it, and all of a sudden I got a podcast with you guys talking about exactly the same thing with people that have the same mindset.
Yeah.
You see how it works?
It's amazing. Yeah. Oh yeah.
See, it's not me. It's not me.
There's a little bit more to that, actually. I wasn't going to mention this, but your daughter is meeting with my father, Dee Snider, who was the singer from Twisted Sister, and he's a color.
That's your father?
That's my dad.
I thought he was gay.
Yeah. So did so many. But they are meeting. I don't know about what now.
Oh, but her project, my daughter's project. Yeah, she's another genius. She's writing like crazy, and yeah, they got a thing. Now she doesn't know about my plan. No one in the family knows about my plan. Who does know about my plan?
You got some major NDA going on there.
Yeah. Some drunk guy at a party.
Well, and you keep everything under wraps. I understand. We're excited, but I just wanted to let you know there's something in the air apparently.
I'm more excited at the fact that now we have a reason to have Tommy come back.
Yeah,
no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we'd love to have you back, Tommy, and we really appreciate you joining us for the show. And and cheers, very 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 nice to toast with you on the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah,
totally.
But
yeah, you know what? Stick around for a second while we sign off, and we'll talk. All right?
Yeah.
Awesome. That was amazing.
Amazing. You guys are awesome. We love you, and we appreciate you being here. I don't know. Do you have any plan to air anything of any kind on Thursday? Because I'm planning.
I'm going to rerun this show on Thursday. No, I'm just going to rerun this show.
This show's going to get rerun on Thursday. If you want
Yep.
to tell anybody to watch it, great having Tommy Chong on the show. And thanks for joining us for another fabulous live stream of consciousness.
Peace.